Hi guys, I Aziz welcome you to CoedMaster. In this video, I am going to talk about user-defined exception. I will explain what is user-defined exception, how to create user-defined exception, and what problem it solves. So if you are willing to learn what is user-defined exception, then this video is for you. So make sure to watch this video till the end. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Alright guys, let's begin this video. So guys, let's imagine that you are working on a banking application and this banking application is developed on Java, and this banking application has one class account. The primary purpose of this class is to create new accounts in the bank. Okay, now if you look at this class, it's a pretty straightforward class. This class has one field, that is amount, okay, and this class has one constructor, one deposit method and one withdraw method, okay, and in the bottom we have one toString method to print the balance amount of the account. Okay, now this class has some serious issues, so let me show you what are those. So let's create the instance of this account as equal to new account, and you can see that the account class is expecting the initial amount while creating the new account. Okay, so let's give it -10. Let's print the information of this account on the screen. Let's run the program and you will see that I am able to create this account with the negative initial amount. So first problem is this. We want to restrain all the users from creating an account with initial amount less than $100. Okay, so this is the first problem. Now let me show you the second problem. So let's make it 10 and then let's try to deposit some amount on this account. So let's call a.deposit and let's call -10. Now if I call deposit method with a negative amount, it's going to work. Let's see it. So now my balance is 0. So this is the second problem, that we are able to deposit a negative amount into this account. Okay, now let's see the next problem, that is, now let's try to call withdraw method. So right now my account balance has $10 and I am trying to withdraw $20. Okay, now let's run the program and you will see that although I have $10 in my account, I am able to withdraw $20 from this account. So these are the three major problems of this account class, and we have to fix this problem. Now what would be your solution? So the first solution that immediately pops up in your mind, that you can return this special value if the deposit amount is less than equal to 0, or return the special value if the withdrawal amount is less than equal to balance, okay, or less than balance. And what about creation of the account? And you can check here that if the initial amount is 0, then let's create the account with the balance 0. Okay, but I think this is not the right way to solve this problem. Why is it so? Because if you return the special value from this method, then how the caller of this method comes to know that which is the special value, right? And the caller of this method has to remember that special value all the time. Okay, and just imagine you have thousands of classes and thousands of methods, then you are not going to return the special value from all the methods. That is not the best practice of writing the readable and maintainable code. Now what is the second solution? Now here we can use the exception. For example, if the deposit amount is less than equal to 0, then we can throw an exception. If the withdrawal amount is less than balance amount, then we can throw an exception. Or if the initial amount is less than equal to 0, then we can throw an exception. But again, here is one problem. So if you look at the exception hierarchy of Java, you will see that we have a lot of exception classes here. Arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, class cascade exception, file not found exception, and whatnot. So apart from all of these classes, Java also has so many classes that you can use in order to solve your problem. And sometimes it happens that you find the class that fits your use case. But as you can see here, none of the classes from Java exception hierarchy fits our use case. So in that case, we have to create a new exception, right? So this is where custom exception or user defined exception comes into picture. So what is that? So all the exception we are going to create that extends the exception class is called the user defined exception. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create a new exception that is going to be the user defined or custom exception. So in order to create exception, let me create one package and let's name it exception so that we can store all the exceptions inside of this package. Now let's create the new exception class. Let's name it invalid amount exception. Okay, invalid amount exception. Let me correct this spelling, exception. Okay, now this exception class extends the existing exception class that is available in Java exception hierarchy. Okay, now let's use the one of the constructor of exception class and we are good to go. So now our exception or the custom or user defined exception is created. Now we can use this exception to solve our problem. Now let's solve the problem of creating an account with amount less than $100. So here we can check if initial amount is less than $100, then we can throw, using a throw keyword, a new instance of invalid amount exception. Okay, now let's give it a message that initial amount must be greater than or equal to $100. Okay, so this is how we are going to throw this exception if initial amount is less than 100. Okay, now we are throwing this exception, but we have to tell the caller of this method that this method is likely to throw an exception. So how do we inform the caller? Using the throws keyword. So let's use throws keyword and let's write the name of the exception, and we are done. Now user is not able to create a new account if the initial amount is less than $100. So let's create a new account with the initial amount 10. Now you can see that the account class is giving an error that we are not handling exception. So now we have two options, either we handle this exception or we can throw this exception. So let's handle this exception and let's wrap this piece of code inside of try block. And let's catch the error using the catch block, and the name of exception is invalid amount exception. Give it a name. Now let's try to print the message of exception on the screen. So let's call system.out.println e.getMessage. Okay, now let's run the program and you will see that now we are not able to create the account with the initial amount less than $100. Okay, so we are passing initial amount as 10, that is why it is throwing an exception, initial amount must be greater than 100. So let's make it 100. Okay, and after making 100, let's print the amount on the screen. Okay, let's run the program and now you can see that we are able to create an account with $100. Okay, and the balance of our account is $100. So the first problem is solved. Now let's try to solve the second problem. We want to restrain user from depositing amount less than or equal to 0. So let's check if amount is less than equal to 0, then we will throw an exception. So let's use throw keyword here, create a new instance of invalid amount exception. Okay, give it a message that amount must be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, now similarly as we did here, we want to inform the caller of this method that this method is likely to throw an error. And how do we inform the caller? Using the throws keyword. So let's use throws keyword and use this same exception here also. So this way we can inform the caller of this method that you must be prepared with the circumstances that this method is susceptible to throw an error. Okay, now let's try to deposit amount into this account. Okay, now use a dot deposit and give it a 0. Okay, let's run the program and you can see here that it is throwing an exception that amount must be greater than equal to 0. Okay, let's give it 50, run the program, and now you can see that the balance of this account is 150 because we have created this account with the initial amount of 100, then we have deposited 50 to this account and it sums up to 100 plus 50, that is equal to 150. So our two problem is solved. Now let's try to solve the third problem in the withdraw method. Now here we have to check that if this dot amount minus amount is less than 0, then we are going to throw an error. Okay, so let's use the throw keyword. Let's create a new instance of invalid amount exception, and let's give it a message that amount must be less than or equal to balance amount, right? And use the same throws keyword here to inform the caller of this method that this method is likely to throw an error. Okay, so what are we doing here? We are subtracting balance minus amount. If it comes out to be less than 0, then we are throwing an invalid amount exception, that withdrawal amount must be less than equal to balance. Okay, so let's run the program. Now let's try to withdraw $200 from this account. Let's run the program, and you will see that it is throwing an exception that amount must be less than equal to balance. Okay, so let's try to print our balance first. Okay, run the program. So our balance is 150 and we are trying to withdraw $200 from here. So let's make it $100. Okay, now let's run the program. So you can see that prior to calling the withdraw method, the balance was 150, and now after withdrawing $100, we are left with $50. So our program is working absolutely fine. So you can see that we have solved all the problems in this class using the exception. And this exception is not a predefined exception that are available in Java class. We have created this exception from scratch. So that is why this type of exceptions are called user defined or the custom exception. So whenever we have a situation where we are not able to find these suitable exception classes in the predefined Java exception hierarchy, then you must create your own custom exception to throw a meaningful exception. As you can see here, our code looks more readable and elegant. So guys, I hope now you have a good understanding of user defined exception, how to create it and how to use it. So on this note, let's end this video. So guys, if you have learned something valuable from this video, then hit the like button in order to make YouTube algorithm happy. Please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so my friend you never miss any upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.